Hi guys, I guess you maybe thought I'd be releasing my bad pain day video part 2. Kind of reassessed that a little bit and may just change it at the moment and release part 2 maybe with a different sort of theme later on and just split it up a bit because it's quite heavy stuff. So I thought today we could maybe discuss journaling and pain journaling. This is something that you get told to do when you are undiagnosed and to sort of keep a log of what's happening with you. And I want to discuss how my experience with that has been so that maybe it could help you if you are undiagnosed at the moment or in the early stages of your fibromyalgia diagnosis and you just want to talk about how to sort of manage the condition and how this can help. There's also downsides to journaling, which we will discuss. I am also not the best at it, I'm not going to lie. So I think we'll also have a chat about different ways to journal. Because, you know, sometimes I can't sit down and handwrite and then I can't read it later anyway because my handwriting is so terrible. But there are many ways in which you can journal and it's picking the right one for you. So let's have a chat about it. I have started and lost so many pain journals and I only have left a couple on my laptop. I have this from 10 years ago. And the only reason that I know it's from 10 years ago is I was practicing my little wax melts for my wedding. So that's weird, but I've kept it anyway because it is from practically the very start of my sort of journey with fibromyalgia. So we can have a look at that. And I've also got a more recent journal that I started and just didn't keep going with. So I've came up with a little plan for me that might suit some other people, makes it easier on us. So what have we got? Let's have a look. We've got a lot of stuff that I've collected over the years from doctors. This one really annoyed me. Managing chronic pain in 10 easy steps. Really? It's so insulting. It's all little cartoons and stuff like that and it really got my back up. Let's have a look at something. I mean, the advice in it is quite good. I just feel the way that it's presented is kind of a bit of a joke. You can let me know in the comments if you feel the same. I got this through a pain management situation. Didn't have a great experience there, but just kept this because I thought 10 easy steps with little cartoons, just a little bit insulting. So let's have a look here. A self-care toolkit from the NHS, which also told me to journal. So what have we got here? This, like I say, this is 10 years old. And this is, obviously there's things on this I'm not going to read out because it's like TMI, but I've got here pre-1st of April, which must have been 2010, and I put pain in knees, difficulty walking, elbows, inner pain, wrists, hands with swelling, chest as if being hugged too tight, twitching in muscles, extreme tiredness, temperature not working in the morning. I don't know what that actually means, but I know what it means. Nausea if pain is extreme, headaches, pain behind eye and at the base of the skull, bowel problems, TMI, swelling in the underarms, elbows, groin, behind the knee, weight gain, memory problems and a slow brain. So let's see, that was obviously me starting the journal with things that had happened before that. So I was on 400 gabapentin at the time. On the 1st of April I had pain in my knees, wrists, arms, shoulders and hands. So how I break down, or how I did break down a journal, I'll put up an example on the screen, is have a section that covers pain. I'd have a section at the top that would cover musculoskeletal, nerve pain, IBS pain, which I would number from 1 to 10 on how bad it was. And then I would have a little space for notes next to each one to put anything. For instance, next to nerve pain I put fibro fog and fatigue. Then I would put daily goals. And those daily goals would be some things that I wanted to achieve that day. Then I would prioritise those tasks, and the reason for that is you may list 3 tasks and then find that halfway through the second one you are struggling. So I would then prioritise them so that the ones that were more important would get done first, and if something was left over I could just move it till the next day. I've then put exercise goals, and I say exercise maybe probably makes you think of something quite intense. I'm talking about very minimal stretching, exercises for my hip and my back and things like that. It's not necessarily exercise in the way that a normal person would. I certainly wasn't running on a treadmill. Don't know why that made me laugh so much. So yeah, the 10-year-old one here. I then monitored my sleep, which anybody who's got fibromyalgia or other similar conditions will know that your sleep is an absolute hot mess. So I tried to monitor that as well. And then I put a small space for journal notes, like, you know, I had such and such a day and I did this today and I wanted to do that and I was upset I didn't get it done, that sort of thing as well. And that is a lot for somebody who is already struggling to sit down and fill all this out and think about it. And, you know, I found it hard. And I don't know why it's taken me so long to think of an alternative, but I can see that this lasted about a month and a half. Let's go to the last page. I felt reasonable for an hour or so. I made the dinner, which I've not been able to make for a few months. However, within 15 minutes of standing in the kitchen, I felt just as unwell as I had been feeling. Joints especially, knees and wrists. I couldn't lift a kettle. I couldn't lift a pan full of water, and I couldn't lift 2 plates of food. Fingers are aching, so sore it makes me feel sick. Burning pain in thigh, left leg so sore I can't sleep. Awful night, face, jaw, elbow, arms, hands, and I have just wrote, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. You see that? Oh, no. I've just wrote here, agony. I also know of a page where I basically wrote, "Fuck off, I don't want to write this today." I think that's fine, you know, because it says a lot when you look back on it about how you were feeling, so I'm okay with it. So the reason that I stopped journaling 10 years ago was that when I would take this to my doctor, who at the time was not a good doctor, I have an excellent one now, but I didn't then, I didn't have a very supportive doctor at all. So when I would take this in to that doctor, it looked like I was anxious and writing, you know, focusing on it, overthinking it and sitting writing in this journal all the time. And that doctor, she took that as a sign of anxiety. And that's a hard thing to hear, that people won't really genuinely listen to you about your pain and just, you know, assume that it's coming from stress. I wasn't stressed about anything. I actually do have anxiety now, but I have what I consider to be a sort of health anxiety, and that I get anxious about getting ill, quite obviously, because it's harder to, you know, when you get ill, when you've got fibromyalgia. So I have anxiety now, but this really, really hurt me and stopped me journaling at that time. Recently, after attending a pain management meeting, they had recommended I start doing it again for myself. Now, this is the other downside of journaling, is that you can start to overthink and focus on everything. And I understand why you want to do that, because you don't want to miss a symptom. You don't want to, because it's hard enough to get a diagnosis, you don't want to go into that doctor's missing a symptom and not having, you know, and possibly missing out on a diagnosis, and you kind of overthink that. So a small red mark will come up in your arm like it would on anybody else's, and you're writing that in your journal, and I've been in that stage. So there is a balance to this. It has to be something that you do objectively until you get to the journaling section, and think about it that way, because it really can be detrimental to you if you're constantly focusing on it as well. I know often when I go out and do sort of things, I'll come back and the pain, you know, because everything quietens down and you sit down and you start to notice the pain again. So sometimes distractions really do help. So if you're sitting focusing on it all the time, that can be a downside to journaling. I would also recommend in your journal section a mental health part, so that you can talk about how you're feeling and sort of look back on your mental health and see if you can spot any places where there might be something that you need a bit of help with. So I started this second journal in my supernatural journal. I love like daft journals and weird things like that. It's basically what we've talked about before, the boom bust chronicity that I was taught by a physiotherapist. I noticed straight away from looking at the first page of this journal that I was giving myself far too many goals, which would be detrimental to my anxiety and guilt, because I would get to the end of the day and still have 4 things to do. So don't overcommit, don't overpromise to yourself what you can do. Be realistic. Even if you think you can do 3 things, give yourself a goal of 2 and you'll achieve it, and that gives you satisfaction, you know, rather than like constantly just adding to this ongoing list that's just going to cause you to be stressed and make your pain even worse. I decided in this journal that I was going to write it the way that I speak. The way that I speak isn't always child friendly, so I cannot read this out. Oh, this is dark. What would have made my day easier? If I was dead. Now please don't take me seriously, I have a dark sense of humour. I've obviously written that in a sense of deep sarcasm and anger through the pain, so... Evidence of improvement. I haven't yet murdered anyone, so... What a smart arse that I am. As it went on, this lasted no time at all. I just started putting in the numbers of like the pain and stuff like that and didn't actually fill it out. And this is what I want to talk about now, is options for you if writing a journal in a book or typing a journal up in a laptop is just not for you. Video diary. You know, do it on your phone. Every day, just open up your phone, small video, maybe open up a folder that you can transfer all the videos into it, and then you have a journal so that you can look back upon it. But I feel like just sitting talking to a camera with maybe prompts is a lot easier than sitting down quietly writing in a journal. For me, for you, journaling might be really good. I do feel that for me, I'd probably be more likely to do it. It's easier just to lift your phone up and talk to it than it is to sit and write in a journal at 11 o'clock at night because you've not done it so far. So I think going forward I'm probably going to do a daily diary talking about, you know, my experiences, because that footage is actually going to be quite handy maybe to have for future videos, you know, to show improvement or to show, on, you know, hopefully not to show any downward spirals and things like that. I'm going to do a video actually talking about the self-care toolkit, talking about accepting the condition that you have and sort of trying to move forward with that acceptance, because the longer you fight the fact that you have this condition, the harder it's going to be for you to move forward. So I think it's an important topic, so we will go into the 10 easy steps of managing chronic pain in a separate video. I really hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any experience of journaling, or if you have any hints or tips that you think could help others, please drop it in the comments and we'll have a chat about it. If you liked the video, if you could give me a like, and remember, subscribe for future content. And most important of all, take care of yourself. See you later.